And you do need pieces of luck to win these tournaments. It's quite an extraordinary, I was going to say feat. I don't know if feat is quite the word, but it's been an extraordinary aspect of England's route through to the final that they've went with the same starting 11 throughout. I mean, you mentioned the German situation and the injuries and COVID. I can't think of a tournament-winning team who've started with the same 11 all the way through.
Neither have I. And actually, as the tournament went on, we were seeing areas of weaknesses for the Sarina Wiegman side. Left back Rachel Daly, who plays as a striker at her club in America, she plays left back for England, which to me is just a wee bit bizarre. But she's brilliant going forward. But against Spain, she struggled. You know, and I thought, well, we're going to see a change against Sweden, because we know Sweden are a really attacking side. Nope, no changes whatsoever. So when we knew going into the semis that she wasn't going to change Rachel Daly at left back at all, we knew that she was never going to change any element of her squad going into the final as well. But what I will say on that note is that Sarina Wiegman's squad are so good, and everyone knows their job. Everyone knows when they're coming on exactly what they've to do. And those players that she has on for starting, you know, grind out the results from the get-go as well. And then the people that have been coming on, for the likes of Ella Toon, Alessia Russo, Chloe Kelly, who got the winning goal as well, they've all known exactly what to do, and they've all contributed to the game. And I actually quite like her style. You know, I'm getting used to it. I quite like knowing a starting 11. Is that weird?
No, I mean, and they're increasingly, I mean, various studies in successful teams point to cohesion being all important and a real cornerstone of success. So I guess you kind of have to acknowledge that Sarina Wiegman really knows what she's doing. And reading about her, she seems like a very likeable character. She's come across brilliantly all tournament, but very humble, likes her summer holidays in a camper van away from any glitz and glare. And there's been talk of an honorary damehood being bestowed upon her now. So she is extraordinary. Back-to-back Euros, one with the Netherlands in 17, and came close to winning a World Cup in between. She arrived with England in September of 2021. What, Shebahn, has she done with this group of English players that previous managers failed to do, in your opinion?
From what it seems, I've been speaking to a lot of the players, and they all agree that she's allowed them to be creative. There's not this set blueprint to play for England, which was quite the way it was for so many years. She's allowed this freedom and players to express themselves on the pitch. And you see that when they play, actually, at the moment as well. The other thing that it's just, it seems like a simple thing, but how do you do it? And she does so well is just winning mentality. You know, the second that we're on the back foot, we make the change because they're going to try and win. And any time that did happen in this tournament, they were able to make the changes quickly and turn it around. And that's what I've really enjoyed about Sarina Wiegman in this tournament. It's not changes at, you know, stoppage time or, you know, into the late 80s minutes, whatever. You know, she's making changes at half-time. She's putting the subs on at 52 minutes, and those subs are then going on to win the game. So she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows the opposition, all of them, so well. But what it seems she's done with this team is made them believe you can win, and that's something England have never had before. And she knows how to win, and she's taught them how to win, and they've never lost a game since she came in September.
It is extraordinary. The German coach Martina Voss-Tecklenburg was very gracious afterwards, and she congratulated England and said if you score 2 goals in a final against Germany, then you deserve to win. However, 25th minute, handball, Leah Williamson near the goal line. She questioned that, and the German press have questioned that, and really they have a point. Yeah, it was, for me it was a handball. It was a handball. I was at the game and I thought, that's a handball. And then when I got out, I looked through the clips, and yeah, that's what it was. So, you know, it's hard. Germany, you know, I'm a proud Scotswoman myself. You know, I was going into this tournament wanting the Lionesses to do well and to continue to grow the game in this country. But you can see how the Germans felt really hard done by on that, considering they were their main striker, their golden girl down, you know, and then moments like that happen and the refs haven't really picked it up, and you've got 87,000 fans completely on the side of England as well. So you can understand their frustration at that. They're such a winning side, they're mentality monsters. They've never gone into a final and lost until now, so you can understand how that cut deep, and, you know, for me, it didn't seem fair. Shebahn, what would you say about this tournament as a whole? And I suppose, I mean, I mentioned the 17 million viewers of the final in comparison with, I think, 1.4 million for the 2009 final, same teams involved. So that just shows a quantum leap in interest. How do you think we'll remember this tournament in terms of the development of the women's game in this part of the world?
It was the moment it changed. It just changed everything. You know, I've watched women's football and girls' football all of my life. I've been doing that before I've gone to men's football, but I still can't believe that happened. It felt like it was like a dream going into Wembley, and seeing the amount of families, you know, different backgrounds, doesn't matter your gender, your sexuality, your race, everything was just, everyone was on this wave together. And it was just it's cheesy, it really is, but you can't help but go, what an amazing sporting occasion. That's what it felt like. It felt like the biggest, most incredible sporting occasion I've ever been at. And I've been at a few of them. And even my husband was there as well. We weren't sitting together, he had to get a ticket elsewhere. And he came out just beaming, you know, and he's a dog. He's a Dublin man. Like, you guys, he just couldn't believe, you know, that happened, and that was women's football and how far it's come. It felt like everybody was just on this nice moment together. Everyone was happy. You know, I don't know about you, but I feel like football has lost its way for quite some time. You know, look at the Euros final for the men last year, and not that I sit and compare them both. Sometimes you can't help it, but you do look at the women's game and go, this is just a beautiful place to be. And them making history, England winning, and it's the game changer for football in this country once again. It's happened before, but this is really the momentum. You can't stop now. It doesn't go backwards from here. It's just going to keep going forward. We're going to see more clubs, more young girls coming through. And what's even more exciting is so much more talent coming through as well.
Yeah, and the standard could go off the charts now, because we still, you know, we have to acknowledge, and Ian Wright really brought it to my attention, that we're talking about a country where, for instance, 37% of girls in schools aren't afforded the opportunity to play football and PE. Now, already there's a campaign to change that, and you suspect this will act as a major accelerant. If nothing else, it will shame the schools who aren't doing it already. I mean, whatever the motivation, it will change. So you can imagine the standard in the game is going to take a quantum leap over the next 10, 15 years.
It has to. You know, like I say, I don't know how it doesn't from here on in. And having people like Ian Wright, who I felt when he did his punditry on those games, he's somebody who I see week in and week out. You'll know Katie McCabe, the Republic of Ireland captain. She plays at Arsenal, and I'm her sister-in-law, so we go and see her week in, week out, playing at Boreham Wood, and Ian Wright sitting in the stands. Every single home game he is there, and has been for the last couple of years. To see people like him, legends of the game, getting up and speaking, criticising the women's game, where it's great, where it needs to be better. People really sit up and listen, and I think he's been outstanding this tournament, as he has been for the last couple of years for women's football as well. And when people like him speak out, people listen, and schools have to make those changes. I mean, my twin sister played football at school, you know, so the fact that there's kids today not allowed to play football at school is absolutely beyond me.
So hang on, you're Katie McCabe's sister-in-law?
I am, yeah.
Oh,
I am. I know. I just thought I'd name drop that in there. I thought that
Small
was
world. We're doing a road show at Vicar Street later this month, and Ian Wright will be there, and Katie McCabe will be a guest as well, dropping in. So this is a weirdly small world.
She's going, and my sister's Rusha Littlejohn. So Rusha Littlejohn is the midfielder for Republic of Ireland. Yeah. So yes, we've all been there at the games together on Sunday. And even the girls, they can't believe it. You know what they're like. You know, proud Irish women. They're there. You know, just cannot believe the scale of football and how it's come along, and you can't help but just be so proud of the Lionesses and their teammates and the girls that they've played with for so many years of their lives to become European championships and complete game changers as well. They're just so proud of them.
Shebahn, have previous tournaments prompted any kind of increase in attendances in, say, the WSL, for instance? Like, because there's always the fear that in the height of emotion and summer tournaments, and when it's nations involved, of course there's a huge bandwagon. I don't think anyone's under any illusions in that respect. But have we seen previous tournaments prompt any kind of uptake in attendance or viewing figures previously?
Yeah, we have, and what we've seen from the 2019, well, the Olympics, of course, and then the World Cup when England met the USA in the semi-finals, we saw a huge influx after that. But the FA had come out and said after that we weren't prepared for the amount of young girls that were going to come forward and want to play football. They hadn't prepared for that. You know, that increase in that excitement from young people just turning around to their mum and dad the next day and saying, I want to go to football. And they said after this tournament they would be ready for that. And they need to get in at grassroots. They have to have themselves prepared this time. You've got initiatives, you know, starting up now to make sure that young girls can go 20 minutes down the road and join a football group just like the boys can do, And whereas what we've seen and what I've known growing up is that girls don't, it's not as simple for them to do that, whereas now it's becoming more normal. Like Chloe Kelly, who got the match winner as well, she travelled for hours and hours and played with her brothers, and then was able to get the opportunity and the talent shone through, and she was snapped up. But there are other girls who are slipping through the net because they don't have the access that, other families that can afford to take their kids to football, can afford to have one parent at home and the other parent taking the others to football as well. So, they're now getting ready to make sure that they can support young girls like that, because they have supported young boys for quite some time. But it's being prepared now for that moving forward. And they did, see that increase after the World Cup, and they weren't ready. Right. Whereas now for this they are.
And it's funny, I mean, the League of Ireland here would suffer from proximity to the Premier League, and it's back this Friday, and it's just this all-conquering beast. And the WSL is on Sky Sports now and trying to fight for its place, as part of each weekend, and they've tried to move kick-off times around to try and garner more interest. Would you anticipate more attendances at WSL games, or is that hoping for too much, or is there precedent there?
That has to be. I think that has to be the imminent change that we see in terms of viewers. So, for example, here in the WSL, your top two, Chelsea and Arsenal, I would always see them full stadiums, unless it's, say, your 7 o'clock on a Sunday night kickoff, which isn't great for if you've got young families. Yeah. But usually on the Saturday and Sunday afternoons that I've been there, 9 times out of 10, it's busy, it's pretty packed out. You're getting about 4,000 to 5,000. The same for Chelsea at Kingsmeadow as well. Similarly, you're getting Manchester City starting to bring in an audience, as you are Manchester United. Now, if you look at those top 4 teams, they had so many players that featured in the Euros who were pull-out poster girls. Leah Williamson at Arsenal, Beth Mead Golden Boot winner and player of the tournament at Arsenal. So, you've got so many stars at all of those teams that you can go and see on the pitch at the weekend. Whereas if you move further down the table, say Reading, Spurs, for example, moving further down again to Aston Villa and I was going to say Birmingham, but they've just been relegated. Leicester, for example, they don't have any exact heroes in their squad. So I think what we want to see teams do, what I would like to see teams do in this window before it closes, is invest in a star, put the money into the star, make a good business savvy move where you could actually say, I can go and see my hero play for Leicester this weekend. Sometimes, like for example, when Spurs got Alex Morgan in, I mean, whether you like women's football or not, Alex Morgan's a household name, so I actually felt that was a pretty decent business move. And Spurs off the back of that got better and better. The team really strengthened. They were able to invest more. The players got more in terms of professionalism, and then the squad got better and better. And they were decent last season. They remained all season. So I'd like to see that from clubs, to give the fans somebody to go along and really get a real glimpse of. And what's lovely as well at the end of WSL matches, now I don't know how long this can continue, but the players stay behind and get selfies with everyone. Now that COVID is kind of safer again, they were allowed to stay behind and get their pictures with everyone. So it's a real lovely place to be, going to the women's football games. I love it. I do it as often as I can. I'm invested in so many of the women. I've got, strong family relationships with so many of them as well. So to see it get to this level is brilliant. To see it on the TV is even better. But we need to keep seeing fans going along week in, week out and supporting their teams as well. So yes, come September when that returns, that's exactly what I want to turn on and be able to see on the telly, and I think the likes of Leicester, the likes of Villa are the teams that are going to struggle with that. Okay, very interesting. Well, Shebahn, thank you so much for your time. Let's check in as the season gets underway and see if there's any marked difference or more interest, or if it's much the same. That'll be a really interesting conversation. But Shebahn Aherne, sister-in-law to Katie McCabe, and name drop. Honorary Irish woman and definite Scotswoman. Thank you so much for coming on, Shebahn. Appreciate it.